It was exactly 3 past midnight when the heavy rain started pounding against my windshield. I was driving down Route 9, a desolate stretch of highway surrounded by nothing but dense black woods. My phone had died an hour ago, and the battery light on my dashboard was flashing red. Then the engine sputtered. The headlights flickered twice and died completely, plunging me into absolute darkness. I managed to steer the coasting car to the gravel shoulder. The storm was getting worse, the wind howling through the trees like a dying animal. I couldn't stay in the car. It was freezing, and the rain was beginning to leak through the worn rubber seals of my door. Through the heavy sheets of pouring rain, I saw a faint, dark silhouette just 20 yards into the woods. A cabin. I grabbed my small flashlight, stepped out into the freezing storm, and ran toward it. The wooden porch groaned loudly under my boots. The front door was slightly ajar, creaking back and forth in the wind. I pushed it open. The air inside was thick, cold, and smelled heavily of damp earth and rotting wood. I shined my flashlight around the room. There was an old, dust-covered armchair in the corner, a broken wooden table, and a cold stone fireplace. It looked like it had been abandoned for decades. I closed the heavy door behind me, shutting out the worst of the howling wind. I sat down on the floor against the wall, shivering, waiting for the morning light. 10 minutes passed in complete silence, save for the rhythmic drumming of rain on the tin roof. Then I heard it. A soft, slow scraping sound. It wasn't coming from outside. It was coming from right above me. Thud, thud, thud. Heavy footsteps walked across the wooden floorboards of the ceiling. My heart stopped. I held my breath, freezing completely in place. The footsteps moved from the far corner of the ceiling directly to the center of the room, right above where I was sitting. Then they stopped. The silence that followed was suffocating. I gripped my flashlight tight, my hands shaking so violently I was afraid the metal casing would rattle against the floor. Suddenly, a loud, sharp creak echoed from the far corner of the room I was in. I slowly raised my flashlight and pointed the beam toward the dark corner. There was a door there. A heavy basement door that I hadn't noticed before. It was slowly, silently opening outward. The darkness inside that doorway seemed deeper than the rest of the room. I wanted to run, to sprint back out into the freezing storm, but my legs felt like lead. I couldn't move. From the black void of the basement stairs, a sound emerged. It was a low, wet, ragged breathing. Hey. A faint, distorted chuckle rasped through the dark. The sound was wrong. It didn't sound human. It sounded like someone trying to imitate a human laugh using a damaged throat. The pale, emaciated hands gripped the edge of the wooden doorframe from the inside. The fingers were impossibly long, the skin stretched tight over thin bone. Slowly, a head began to peer around the edge of the door. The face was completely hairless, the skin a sickly chalk white, but it was the eyes that paralyzed me. They were completely wide, staring directly at me, reflecting the light of my flashlight like a nocturnal animal. The creature smiled, revealing rows of sharp, mismatched teeth. It took one long, jerky step out of the basement. Its limbs moved at unnatural, broken angles, like a marionette being pulled by invisible strings. The fear finally broke my paralysis. I let out a sharp scream, scrambled to my feet, and threw my heavy flashlight directly at the creature's face. It struck the entity dead center. The flashlight shattered on impact, plunging the cabin back into pitch-black darkness. In the dark, I heard it rush toward me. It wasn't walking anymore. It was sprinting on all fours, its long claws scratching wildly against the wooden floorboards at an impossible speed. I dived blindly to my left, crashing through the old wooden table. I felt a cold rush of air pass inches from my face as the creature leapt over me, slamming into the wall where I had stood a second before. I scrambled on my hands and knees, feeling for the front door. My hand hit the cold metal of the doorknob. I twisted it, threw the door open, and threw myself out into the pouring rain. I didn't look back. I sprinted down the muddy path, bursting onto Route 9, and kept running down the middle of the empty highway in the blinding storm. I ran for 2 miles until the headlights of a passing truck finally appeared in the distance. The police searched the cabin the next morning. They found my car, my shattered flashlight, and the broken table. But the basement door was locked tight from the inside. The officers told me the cabin had been empty since 1974, but I know what I saw. And sometimes, when it rains heavily at night, I can still hear that wet, distorted laughing echoing in the back of my mind.